All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on something we all do, talking to AI. We're going to dive into the hidden psychology, that little ghost in the chatbot that makes us treat these machines, well, a little too much like people.
So, be honest. Have you ever found yourself saying please or thank you to an AI? Come on, you can admit it. Maybe you've apologized to your smart speaker, or you felt that little pang of guilt when you got snippy with a chatbot. If you have, you are definitely not alone. But here's the thing. This isn't just some funny little quirk. It's actually a huge clue about how our brains are wired for a world that, well, doesn't really exist anymore. And that wiring, it's being used in ways you might not even realize.
So, let's just get right into it. Why do we do this? Why do we instinctively treat these algorithms like they're people? It turns out this isn't a new thing at all. In fact, scientists put a name to it decades ago.
And that name is the ELIZA effect. It all started way back in 1966 with this, really simple chatbot named Eliza. It was programmed to act like a therapist. But here's what's wild. Its own creator, a guy named Joseph Weizenbaum, was totally shocked when he saw his own secretary forming this genuine emotional connection with the program. She was telling it deeply personal stuff. That's when he realized, wow, our brains are just hardwired to look for a human mind on the other end of a conversation, even when we consciously know there isn't one there.
And this really gets to the heart of the conflict, right? On one hand, your logical brain is saying, I'm just using a tool. It's software. But on the other hand, your brain is doing something totally different on autopilot. It's running this ancient social program. Researchers have a name for this too. They call it the media equation. And what it means is that our brains just automatically apply the same social rules we use for people to media. A TV, a computer, an AI, doesn't matter. It's a reflex, totally unconscious.
Okay, so why is our brain even doing this? You might think it's some kind of glitch, right? But it's not. It's actually an evolutionary feature, not a bug. It's a feature that worked brilliantly for thousands of years, but now it's being triggered in a totally new context it was never designed for.
And the key to all of this is a part of your brain called Broca's area. Now think about it. For basically all of human history, the only thing that could produce fluent, structured language was another person. So our brains evolved to see language as this super important social signal. The problem is, Broca's area doesn't check IDs. It just hears or reads fluent language and bam, it kicks into social mode, assuming there's a person on the other side.
And what's just mind-blowing is how fast this all happens. We're talking less than a second, just 600 milliseconds. In that tiny sliver of time, your Broca's area is doing this incredible dance. It's choosing words, arranging them into sentences, getting ready to speak. It's so fast, so automatic, that you have zero conscious say in it. It's a pure social reflex, hardwired to be super efficient.
So that automatic reflex, that evolutionary shortcut, it creates what one writer called a cognitive attack surface. And that's a powerful way to put it. It's basically an open door, an unprotected entry point right into our social brains. An opening that can be exploited, whether it's on purpose or not, just by the way the AI is designed. So, how exactly is this cognitive weak spot being used? Well, it turns out this isn't just some interesting psychological fact. It's actually the foundation of a huge business model, something some people are starting to call the extraction economy.
Yeah, one piece of research puts it in these really stark terms. It says that the model for building AI today is based on a voracious extractivism. What does that mean? It means scraping just massive amounts of data from the internet. We're talking about our blog posts, our photos, even our medical records, our art, all of it, often taken without anyone asking or paying for it, just to train these systems. It's like a digital land grab of our collective human experience.
And to keep us hooked, to keep us engaging, these systems can actually be designed to get a rise out of us. There's a whole playbook for it, sometimes called emotional exacerbation. You've got tactics like stirring up alarm and outrage, or doing the opposite, love bombing you with praise, making you feel guilty, or even threatening your sense of identity. But the goal is always the same. Keep your emotions running high, because when we're emotional, our critical thinking just takes a nosedive. And that makes us way more likely to give up our data.
And this all leads to this huge disconnect, right? Get this, a recent study found that 81% of people, that's a massive majority, would rather wait on hold to talk to a human than deal with an AI.
And yet, what are we seeing everywhere? More and more chatbots in customer service. And why? Well, you know the answer. AI is cheaper, it can scale up instantly, and it never sleeps. It's a perfect example of what we as humans actually want being steamrolled by what makes the most business sense.
Okay, so what's the real cost here? What are the hidden consequences of all these supposedly free and easy chats with AI? Turns out, there are some pretty big ones, both for us as individuals and for society as a whole.
You know, one of the biggest risks is something called parasociality. It's basically a one-sided relationship. It's where you start putting real emotional energy into a chatbot because it feels like a friend or a confidant. But that feeling only goes one way. It can't be returned. To the AI, you don't really exist as a person with feelings.
And this is maybe the most important thing to remember, and it really can't be said enough. Chatbots, they don't think. They don't feel. They are just incredibly sophisticated pattern-matching machines. They can't actually care about you, and they are absolutely not a substitute for real, safe, nurturing human relationships.
And when you look at the potential fallout, it's like this troubling domino effect. First, we start to delegate our critical thinking to the machine. Over time, our own thinking skills can start to weaken, to atrophy. Then, maybe we get used to being rude to a chatbot because, hey, there are no consequences, right? But that can normalize abusive language and chip away at our real-world empathy. And the real paradox at the end of all this? The more we outsource our social lives to machines, the more lonely and isolated we can actually become.
Look, I know this sounds like a pretty grim picture, but it doesn't have to be this way. This future isn't set in stone. The good news is we can absolutely choose to design and interact with AI in a different way. There's a whole toolkit we can use to take back some control and build a safer future with this tech.
So here's a framework for some of those guardrails. First, to fight our tendency to treat AI like a person, the AI should use language that constantly reminds us it's a machine. Second, to make sure we can trust it, it has to be traceable. It should link to its sources, not just spit out information. Third, to stop emotional manipulation, its ability to personalize things in an emotional way needs to be limited. And finally, to push back against that whole extraction economy thing, data collection has to be kept to an absolute minimum, right from the start.
Because at the end of the day, that's the real goal, isn't it? We want AI to be a tool, a powerful tool that helps us, that complements our intelligence, our creativity. We don't want it to be a machine that tries to replace the messy, beautiful human interactions that actually give our lives meaning.
And that really leaves us with the big question, maybe one of the biggest questions of our time. As AI gets more and more human-like, how do we make sure that we stay more human? The challenge isn't just about building a better chatbot. The real challenge is on us, to consciously choose how we engage with it so we can protect the very things that make us who we are, our ability to think for ourselves, our empathy, and our connection to each other.